Welcome to Powerful Women at NASA. First, we want to get a feel for who's in the audience. So if this is your first time at a SWE conference, raise your hand. Wow, look at that. Well, thank you for coming. How many of you are collegiates? Okay, how about working professionals? All right, good split. Anybody work in government? Woohoo! Anybody from commercial industry? All right, very nice. Well, thank you all for coming. This is a full house, so this is great. I'd like to introduce you now to our moderator, Deboshri Sadhukhan. She began serving as an aerospace engineer at Glenn Research Center in May 2016. In this capacity, she serves as safety and mission assurance support to evaluate and provide design options to increase the reliability, maintainability, and system safety of hardware and personnel throughout the system lifecycle. She also serves within engineering in a more traditional engineering role for electrical hardware design, integration, and testing for space power systems and aeronautics technologies. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Akron and is currently pursuing a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering at Penn State University. Help me welcome Deboshri.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't be here without our amazing panelists, so let me get started by introducing all of them. So wave as I say your name. Yes. First, we have Julie Kramer White. She is the Deputy Director of Engineering at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Then we have Therese Griebel, the Deputy Associate Administrator for Programs from NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Next, we have Patricia Petete, the Director of Safety and Mission Assurance from Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And lastly, we have Don Schaibe, the Director of Engineering from Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. Help me welcome our panelists. So as an added note, if you have any questions for our panelists, we'll be using Slido.com with the number at the very top. They'll be on all the slides. So just go ahead and ask your questions there, and we'll save some time at the end to read them off. You can also vote for which questions you like and push them towards the top. So I'm going to start by asking a simple question to our panelists. If you could please explain your current position, highlighting the aspects of your role in which you have leveraged your STEM degrees and experiences. Throughout the course of your career, can you describe how you were able to take on more leadership or organizational-oriented positions and how you've developed the, quote, soft skills in addition to the technical skills that have helped you succeed? Whoever wants to go first.
So let's see. So I just mentioned my name is Julie Kramer White. I'm Deputy Director at Johnson Space Center in Engineering in Houston. It's an organization of about 800 civil servants, 1,200 contractors. We supply engineers and engineering leadership to all of the United States human spaceflight programs. So we supply engineers to support the International Space Station, the development of Orion, the next generation of human spaceflight, deep space exploration capsule, as well as our commercial partners that are working on low Earth orbit access. Along with all those disciplines to support spacecraft development, we also do a lot of applied technology type work where we bring together foundational research engineering from other centers and academia to develop widgets to support human spaceflight, right? So something very specific we need to support our mission. We do a lot of work around advanced life support, spacesuits, heat shields, robotics, all different kinds of aspects of engineering. I actually worked my way up exclusively on the technical engineering side. I worked up from a subject matter expert, my discipline and structures and fluids, dynamics, and materials, up through a systems engineering job, up to a chief engineering job. So prior to being deputy director of engineering, which is a relatively new job for me, I've only been in this job about a year. I was the chief engineer for the Orion capsule for 11 and a half years. So I led it through contract award, up through its first flight in 2014, and then moved over to engineering last fall. So for those of you that don't necessarily work inside the federal government, knowing that I come up the technical engineering side, that means for me, my entire career has been influence leadership. Okay, I don't control the budget. I do now. I did not control the budget. And so fundamentally, from a soft skills perspective, that means you have to make people want to do what you want them to do because you can't direct them to do it. So that, for me, has been a challenge. It required that you be able to synthesize a lot of technical data, be able to blend out programmatic considerations for cost and schedule, and then help balance risk. for the engineering function as well as the program function. So in terms of soft skills, obviously communication, advocacy, building coalitions, really important to be able to get those kind of things done. Building relationships, that's kind of been my superpower for the last couple of decades. That's how I make my living. And that success is really based on technical credibility, trust, and then follow through.
Okay, so I'm Therese Griebel, and I'm currently at NASA headquarters as the Deputy Associate Administrator for Programs and our Space Technology Mission Directorate, which is just a lot of words. That means I oversee a lot of advanced space technology development. And I've worked at multiple different places. I worked at NASA Glenn, Cleveland. I got to work at JPL, which is kind of what you see on the Big Bang Theory. It was very cool. I worked at Raytheon Missile Systems, and I'm back at NASA headquarters. And so in the Space Technology Mission Directorate, we are responsible for kind of synthesizing what the political needs are, what the policy is of this administration, and what our Congress then directs us to do from the appropriation standpoint. And then we identify the specific technologies that our customers are going to need in our Human Exploration Mission Directorate, or in our Science Mission Directorate, or what commercial needs are. So we advance technologies prior to them being needed on an actual mission. And that way, we can actually fail, we can test things out, we can demonstrate different things and at a lower dollar value, and then when they're absolutely necessary, they're mature enough to actually honor onto the mission. Let's see, I think part of the question was like, how did I move through, take on more leadership or organizational oriented positions in my career? It just kind of, for me, a lot of things just kind of happened. I took a lot of opportunities. The first opportunity really came from outgrowing an organization, right? And then there's no way that you can ever map where I was going to go next. If you were to look at the history of my career, you wouldn't guess where I was going next. Never. And so for me, it was just something that as I kind of matured and as I grew up, the things that I wanted to do were the things that I followed.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you. I will just tell you how awesome it is to see all your faces in this audience and how much it has changed since I came out of college in 1986. So hats off to you all. I'll just say that first and foremost. So for me, I started my career at NASA. I was a late graduate out of college. I worked my way through college, and so I set my goal to graduate before I was 30, and I made it. Just ahead of that at 29. So NASA was my first engineering job that I had. I came from a background where I worked basically several jobs to work my way through school. So I came from the trucking industry, actually. I had a truck rental. I was the first woman there that was in the shop, a driver. I was the first woman in the company to become a parts room manager. And so that was something that I don't think I really realized at the time how much that might help me on the road. And it's helped me a lot coming to NASA. So I came to NASA Johnson Space Center in the engineering organization that Julie's now the deputy of. Started working in spacesuits and life support systems and active thermal control systems. We have a large-scale thermal vacuum chambers there. So my first test was actually testing space station radiators in the large chamber there. It was really cool. They gave me the third shift because I was a new person. I spent 13 years actually in that division before leaving to the space shuttle program. And I think much like Therese just said, for me, opportunities seemed to come my way. I didn't necessarily go after them. I had people that, we kind of knew what I did. I didn't even know that they knew me. The space shuttle program manager at the time called me and said, hey, he left a voice message because I was in my office. He said, I'd like to talk to you about opportunity in the space shuttle program. I called him back and said, I think you have the wrong number. And so because, I didn't know him, didn't think he knew me, but that just ended up being one of the most fantastic jobs that I was really able to do in my career. So I went there as a technical assistant, stay, became the deputy for orbiter, which is a shuttle that separates from the tanks. And so I was in the space shuttle program for about 4 years. Went back to engineering as a division chief in the power propulsion systems division. Left there and went to safety mission assurance as the deputy director. Was there for about 9 months. It was more of a kind of rotational thing. Didn't know that at the time that it was going to be rotational, but I was in and out pretty quickly. Went back to engineering, where I got to be the division chief of my dream division, which is where I started my career. And then ended up coming back to the engineering directing staff, working in the commercial crew program for a while, and then I came to safety mission assurance as the deputy and been the director for a year and a half. So for me, I have moved around a lot in my career, and not by me going out saying, I want to go here, I want to go there. It was really, I've been real fortunate. And I've always said yes. So I went to the session earlier in generations, and I'm a baby boomer, so I just realized in that presentation that I never said no to my boss. But I think because that it really opened a lot of opportunities for me. So Julie touched on, influence leadership, and I also have a lot of that for myself. Relationships to me have always been important. I actually got to write up on one of my report cards that I found recently at my parents' house, and the teacher was criticizing me because she said I talked too much. And I remember getting put to the back of the room because I talked too much. And who would know now, right, that a lot of the reason that working in medicine or what we do in teams, it's all about talking and communicating and part of the team. So anyway, that's just
All right, good afternoon. So we're here. Thanks for having us. So I'm Schaibe. I'm currently the Director of Engineering at the Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. As Deboshri said, if you've seen the movie or read the book Hidden Figures, that's Langley Research Center. My organization at Langley provides the engineering for all the different missions that Langley supports. Langley is a research center, so it's really around sort of the lower development of new ideas and new technologies. So we support a lot of aeronautics in a lot of the ways you fly and making aircraft safer and helping the U.S. Airline industry. We do a lot with earth science and characterizing the climate with remote sensing from satellites and aircraft. And then also really a good partner with Therese and her organization in maturing technologies that are going to be needed for space, both for science and for human spaceflight. I wasn't always in this area. My first half of my career was spent at the Kennedy Space Center, working shuttle and space station. I'm a mechanical engineer as my undergraduate degree, but my graduate and a lot of my experience has been around systems engineering. I have been in management type roles more than half of my career. And I think what drew me to that first is very much the same that you've heard is about the relationships and the people and caring for people. And I think part of it is I work for some really great supervisors and I work for some that aren't that great. And it was sort of on me that says, hey, I think I can do a good job for the people I want to, I think I can do this. I want to do this because I think I can do well and help folks. I think you develop the soft skills at NASA because it's not really an individual sport, right? Everything is done in teams, and so you learn to be a team player. That's really how I progressed. Started out as a team member, a team leader, became a supervisor, and now a director. And my ability to move from job to job, when I look back at it, right, it's the same way you didn't really plan it out, is just being willing to step out of the comfort zone. So a lot of times opportunities will come and folks aren't willing to take them and say, I'm not comfortable with that, and then they pass. So depending on the opportunities I was given, by being willing to step out of my comfort zone and having a network of folks around me to help, to give me that confidence and to back me up and to let me fail where I needed to fail, but to catch me before I did anything really dumb. So I've been really fortunate with that. As far as really developing the soft skills, for me, the bottom line is I learned it when I was little. It's the golden rule, right? And that's really what kind of drives me is treat other people the way I want to be treated, right? So I want to hear things. I want people to be honest with me. I'm honest with them, right? And I want to hear where things can improve. I want to provide the information that's in to develop my soft skills.
Great, thank you. So moving on to the next question. So all of you are members of the Senior Executive Service, or SES. This means you hold one of the top managerial positions in the federal agency. Has that always been a career goal of yours, or was it the next logical step in your career advancement? Can you share your personal decision to become an SES, as well as the impact that you feel the position title has had in your careers?
So we kind of got together before this, and we were kind of chatting about the questions, and we had a lot of debate about this one. But for me, I was gagging for it. I absolutely was dying to be an SES, and because I always thought that once you're an SES, you're in like the top 2% of the leadership in the agency, and then I would be important, and people would recognize that I had authority and that I was good at stuff and that I deserved attention and I strived. I worked really hard. I worked harder than most people. I worked longer than most people. I took the hard jobs that nobody wanted. I mean, I worked in a manufacturing facility where I had to wear hard hats and boots to go to the ladies' room, right? And I missed my open-toe shoes. It was killing me. And so I took the hard jobs. I did everything I could, and the thing is, sometimes when you feel like you need to get to a position or prove your worth, you step on a lot of people to get there. And the relationships that Dawn and Trish and Julie have been talking about are really what is important in order to make you successful. And so what I learned when I became SES is people didn't treat me differently. They didn't suddenly respect me. They didn't suddenly think I was anything. I really had to go through a metamorphosis and start realizing that my value was not associated with the position that I was holding. And the sooner that you recognize that and start following what you're being called to do instead of following what you think others will think is an important, status symbol, I think things will go. You'll actually, if you really do think an SES or being a leader in this kind of organization is really what you want to do, I think you'll get there quicker because people will want you there instead of them trying to sabotage you because you stepped on them.
So I guess maybe in contrast to that, I mentioned earlier I climbed up on the technical ladder side. So not only did I not aspire to an SES, actually I feel like a lot of engineering people don't want to be SESs because they feel like they give up their credibility because now they're managers. I was actually, the career I aspired to was as an SL, so it's a technical executive, and as a program chief engineer for a human spaceflight program, I was an SL when I was in the Orion program. So I'm kind of on what I would call my second career at NASA. So I climbed that technical ladder kind of up to the top, and then I was asked to move over into institutional management because of some of the challenges that Johnson Space Center faces right now with trying to certify multiple human spaceflight vehicles at the same time. So to be able to apply the experience that I had gained climbing that ladder on the side with Orion, and then be able to use that experience to work with the commercial partners. So I was sort of more of a recruited. The way Trish talked about it, I was tapped on the shoulder and asked to come across into that leadership position, even though that was not maybe my preference. But I've been there a year now, and I'm finding it's a lot of the same skills, a lot of the same leadership skills. And certainly still apply. I still get to apply my technical work with a huge engineering staff, which is actually a great opportunity to kind of spread the wealth and pass on like was passed on to me when I started at NASA.
I'll just say real quick, I never actually had a position in mind. It was always I wanted to be challenged and I wanted to make a difference. So I just took sort of the next kind of logical step that got me there. And I actually didn't really want to be an SES because I kind of liked being behind the scenes, controlling things like the man behind the curtain, right? And woman behind the curtain, I should say, right? But I got talked into it because I was considering it from a boss and a mentor that said, really, you want to affect change and you want to make an impact, and this is where you can do that. That's how I got sold on that.
So for me, I was in the space shuttle program at the time, and we were just flying really hot and heavy, and the pace of the work was pretty intense, and I was single mother, and so it was very tough for me. I'd say that kind of the balancing the home work was pretty tough for me. My family wasn't in Houston, so I was just kind of on my own there, and so one of my managers actually. Put me in, I wanted to put me in for it's called the SES CDP program. It's a candidate development program for SESers. And he approached me about it, and my first thought was, oh my gosh, I really don't need one more thing to do. But again, hey, thank you for thinking of me, and so I threw my hat in and went through that program. It was a pretty intense training and development program, but it was awesome. And then, so for me, it became about graduating from that program. And so I said, if nothing else, it wasn't an SES for me either. It was really, I want to graduate from this program. So I did that, and then was, called at home actually 2 days out of back surgery, and offered the deputy director SMA job. And so I had a lot of soul searching with that because, I really thought, I don't know, about it. A lot more responsibility that comes with it. Certainly I enjoyed, being part of the decision making, part of just being in those discussions really more than anything. And so I thought, well, this is probably maybe the next step in my career since I graduated from the program. Let's give it a shot. And so that's really how I came into the Corps.
Cool. Okay, so being a senior executive leader of NASA, have you faced any difficulties while working to advance your career? Do you ever feel that you were less respected as a leader because you were female? Have you experienced or witnessed gender bias in your day-to-day jobs?
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. I do a lot of STEM outreach, particularly at the university level, and I actually get this question a lot, being coming from a male-dominated academic environment into a male-dominated work environment. And my answer has always been no. I mean, for me, NASA has always been a great place to work. Johnson Space Center in particular is not a very hierarchical organization. They tend to defer to technical skill as opposed to position. So if you're very good, they really couldn't care if you were purple and had 3 heads as long as you were really good at what you did. I always felt respected and valued and felt like our management went out of their way to provide opportunity. And I still think that. But I'll give you a little more nuanced answer because now as a manager of a large institution, I think I have some different insight into that. I think I had some unique situations that helped me avoid some of the pitfalls that maybe some women experience as they try to move up, particularly in male-dominated environments. I think there are still some broader societal expectations that affect the ability of women to move up into leadership positions. And I think those are real. And so as young people entering any profession, and particularly entering a male-dominated profession, I think you guys need to understand that. So I was raised by 2 generations of women as head of household. My mom was divorced when I was young, and my grandfather died when my mom was very young. So for me to be sort of the figure in the house that was the leader is not unusual, but that's not actually common. Like home environment where leadership was not an optional characteristic in the household. When I entered NASA, I was proactively partnered with a mentor very early in my career, which bolstered my network and my ability to build my technical skills, leadership, decision-making, and high-stakes applications from a very young age. So in my late 20s, I was responsible for maintaining certification of a human spaceflight vehicle where the decisions you were making every day were worth millions of dollars, and if you got them wrong, people died. So that's the way I was taught to make decisions as a very young person. So I felt like, obviously, that was huge. The other advantage I feel like I had that maybe most women don't have, and some of you will have to consider as you move into the workforce, is I had a trailing spouse. So what that means, right, is at some point in your life, if you want to have a family, somebody makes a decision, or you have to arrange, right, to be able to either move, be portable, right, my husband deferred to my career. So when it came to professional travel, relocation, childcare, all those things, my husband stepped in and took that role. That allowed me to do all those things, including traveling extensively, working late at night, taking rotational assignments, working overseas. Okay, that is a reality that in our society today, that still predominantly falls on the woman in the household. You know, is that fair? Is that right? Don't know, but it is reality, and you guys need to think about that. It's something you'll have to deal with. The other thing that I find a lot of women deal with is what we call the double bind, right? The aggressive versus, I won't say the other word. You know what I'm thinking? Bitchy. Yes. So competent and confident versus aggressive, overly aggressive, bitchy behavior. It's real. Okay, so I had the exceptional honor of being raised by a bunch of crusty old Apollo guys who couldn't have given a rip what you thought about them. Yes. So I was taught, again, from a very early age that, you know, if everybody liked you, you probably aren't doing your job right. So it was okay to not be liked. It was not okay to not be respected, but it was okay to not be liked. So that's the way I was raised, and I don't know that that's necessarily common in the industry, but those things I think allowed me to avoid some of the pitfalls that you still see both in the industry and kind of societally for women moving into the workplace.
I'll take that. I have had a little bit of a different experience, although I tell you that NASA, you know, I had several offers coming out of college. I always wanted to work for NASA than one. It was my dream, seriously. But to get an offer for them was something I really wasn't sure was even possible. So, but I did have a higher paying offer, higher paying offers coming out of college, and I took NASA. And my aunt just actually couldn't believe it, because I turned out quite a difference in money. And what I shared with her at the time was, it was so interesting, was when I went to interview for NASA, you know, it was a different feel to it. There were a few women, so when I was hired in, there were literally 5 women in my division. So we all knew each other by name, and we all supported each other, which I would also just encourage you to please support each other. It's so important. I had that, and it made a huge difference. I also had a lot of crusty old Apollo guys, you know, who supported me and gave me opportunities in my career. I would say they opened doors for me, and it made a big difference. And they also, you know, encouraged me. I don't know, for me personally, what, you know, I can't think what kind of a career would look like if I hadn't had that. I will tell you, when I interviewed with NASA, I went to one division, and it was kind of a remote, they had a remote test site, because at the time they were kind of blowing up things, and so they were doing hazardous testing, and so it was a little bit farther away from the rest of the site. And so I went out to interview with them, and walking around the facility, there was not a women's restroom. And so for me, you know, I walked around and I thought, wow, you know, if I have to go to the restroom, I'm going to drive. Get in my car, I'm going to drive over to this other building to get the restroom. And so they treated me really great. And it turns out that division chief actually was awesome too. You know, Therese great. But that was a consideration at the time for me. Wow, there's no women's restroom. So I got hired in, had just a great experience. Now, keep in mind, I came from the trucking industry. And so my frame of reference was, you know, a little bit of that. But, you know, coming into NASA was so family-oriented for me. And so I had probably 2 people, I would say, in my career that I equate to, you know, like your family. There's always the one cousin in your family that says stuff they shouldn't say, you know, or they act a certain way they shouldn't act, and you just kind of want to go, really, you know, seriously? So I did have a few of those, and one of those actually was a senior manager in the division, and I became the first woman manager, well, the deputy branch chief, the first woman manager in that division. And literally the day after I was selected, he quit talking to me. And I would pass him in the hallways, because we had a great relationship the day before. And I would pass him in the hallways, and he quit talking to me. And so later on, I was asking some of my, other male managers, what did I do? Right? It's about, oh my God, he doesn't like me,
Does he still work for me?
No, he doesn't. I just felt like, what did I do? And I came to realize it wasn't what I did. That was like his problem, his issue. Later on, so he retired, so I became division chief of that division. And he came back for a holiday party, Christmas party that we had. And of course, I walked up and said, hey, so-and-so, great to see you. And he said, yeah, I heard that I heard you're division chief now. I said, yeah, isn't that awesome? And he just kind of looked at me and turned and walked away. And I thought, okay, it's still his problem, right? So it's still his problem. So that's just something I would share with you if you ever experience anything like that. Just try and keep that in your mind, right? Don't let it bring you down. Don't let it take you in a place of doubting yourself or questioning yourself. Just know that you are very talented and you can do whatever you set your mind to, and that's their problem. So
I'm going to be quick about this because I had a different experience than what you're seeing here. So I started an organization where it's interesting, the building I worked in was an equipment building, and there wasn't a reason. And I thought, it was 1990, which I'm sure seems a long time ago to most of you, but it's not, it's just yesterday. It's really. So I had been working in this organization for about 10 years, and I got promoted to a branch chief position, and then a few years later, the branch that I grew up in, that position, the leadership position was open. And to me, it was very clear that was my job, right? I grew up in an engineering group. I've got years of experience as a manager over here. This is my job. It's clear to me. And finally, facilities is kind of a dominated old boys network. So they say they work for crusty old hollow guys. I work for crusty old guys. And so one of them is a friend still today, but he pulled me aside. He said, Therese, they're not even looking at you. They think you've gone far enough. They think you're gone, and they're looking at Bob, Jim, Joe, or Dave. And I was furious, and I was hurt. And it's when someone who has authority over you, who is the one that's holding you down or has that opinion, that you need to leave. When most of the time, when some of these old guys would say things, it really was all about them. And it was more amusing than anything, because you're like, wow, was that out of touch, right? And the average person would agree, and so you felt like you were pretty confident with that. But when it's senior management team has decided you've gone far enough, you probably need to find a way out of there. And so that's what I did. And to be perfectly honest, they all retired in the same positions they were in when I left them in 2001. And I outranked them by about 5 levels now. So, and so yeah, I love that. So there are experiences that you will have where people are going to be obnoxious or in your way, and usually it's kind of funny. And you need to take it that way. It is not about you. It's about them. When they have authority over you, yeah, you gotta go somewhere else.
Thank you for those wonderful stories. So I know about half the group is about collegiates, so let's talk some advanced degrees. Several of you hold advanced degrees in management. Can you discuss what influenced you to pursue a managerial advanced degree versus the technical, and how you feel your advanced degree has possibly influenced or shaped the career opportunities that have been available to you?
Yeah, I know you'll add on to that, right? So I've got a couple of advanced degrees, some in technical, some in management. I think what drove me more to the management was as I was beginning to become a manager and realizing that there was more that I needed to do to kind of grow and develop in that area that doesn't necessarily come naturally in a heavily technical organization. And so, I'm always trying to strive to be a better self and to kind of fill in some of the gaps that I felt that I had and to become, really more well-rounded. Especially, I had a real interest in organizational design and organizational behavior and team dynamics. I was really drawn to that, so that was one of the reasons I think that I pursued that opportunity. But looking back, what I think I also gained from that I did not anticipate is just kind of getting into a group of people, especially in a college setting, of folks that are thinking differently, to grow up in the technical, some of the management, and really the perspective that I really learned to see things through a different lens and through a different dimension that I think has been really helpful for me in kind of seeing sort of bigger pictures and being more critical and thinking through some things. So I feel like that's really been a powerful thing, and at NASA we really do value the diversity of thought, because that's how we get to what we're doing the hard stuff. And so it really, I think that helped me realize all the different dimensions of diversity of thought, those kinds of experiences. And as a systems engineer, I think that's helped me as well.
Where in your career were you gone about into management career?
It was sort of mid-career just after I became a supervisor, and a little bit, after I really decided to go to stay in that track. I think that kind of pushed me to that.
So when I was an engineer, when I worked functionally as an engineer every day, it occurred to me, and this is going to be funny, you can tell your dad. So her dad was my office mate. And so what I realized early on is that there were people who I worked with who were so good at their job, and they loved doing the engineering. I'd have messages on my phone at 11 o'clock, from 11 o'clock the night before, I think I've solved this controls problem, right? And I'm like, and it became very clear to me that I didn't care enough to really work the engineering side of the problems and so.
She means she wasn't detail oriented.
So for me, it was one of those things where I knew I like to do new things, I like to start new things, I like the organizational development, but for me, and I started 3 different engineering degrees, master's degrees, and I didn't finish anyone. And the reason was because engineering was hard. I mean, I had to bend my brain in ways that were just not natural. And so I got an engineering degree, and then I went to work, and I was kind of a plant engineer working with control systems of large rotating equipment that was used for the wind tunnels at NASA Run. And so that's how I learned what it smelled like when you smoked something, and when, it was good work. And but I realized I didn't use any of those really higher order math skills or anything else, and I couldn't make myself do it anymore. And so for me, and it was accidental. I went and started to get the MBA, and the management was absolutely the best fit for me. At NASA, we have a little bit of a problem that we have some of the smartest people on the planet, and the way that they normally get promoted is not many people get the lucky. You have to be really good to get an SL. There are not many SLs, and so you have to be really one of the best in the agency in order to go up to the full technical track. Usually, so we have really smart people. But what happens is people, in order to get to the next level, they have to take a management position, and it's like the worst decision of their lives. They have to deal with people problems, and they don't want to, so they're still doing some, CFD on their computer and then staying in their office. And for me, it was like the opposite. I did the engineering. I'm proud that I'm an engineer. You can't snow me in a review. I'm smart enough to figure it out, but I don't want to do the designing anymore. And for me, when I became a manager, when I went into management, it's when I started to sing, And so it's not, my brother, who is my hero, talked me into going into engineering, And he would always kind of call managers sellouts, you know? So it was a while before I told him I was getting my own head. But it has absolutely been a much better, for me, a better progression because it is something that I really resonate with, and so. But it was because I really didn't want to work that hard.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, if it's okay with the panel, I'm going to actually switch to the audience QA. We actually have a lot of good questions in here. These are all going to be impromptu. So the first question we have is, what's the most unusual skill you've had to learn that wasn't taught in college? What a great question.
For our jobs. Yeah, okay, so
I can call out the person out here. She put her name.
I'm not giving her the mic. So my supervisory positions, I've managed a lot of blue-collar men. And 2 different times in my career, just purely by accident. And so I was really fortunate. I was able to run the manufacturing division when we manufactured and flew Ares 1X. So if you guys ever know what that is, it was a very cool project. It was very fun. But all I don't know what in the world these people, how they were raised. I don't know what happened. It's not because they're blue collar. It's just I think they all got their job in this building and never left the building again. And I learned a lot about managing people and tracking their time and doing all the things in a legal way to hold people accountable without getting into legal trouble. And so I could write a book, but I understand that's not legal. So there's a significant, what I've learned most recently, the skill I've learned most recently that has been very beneficial is how to be my staff's truth sayer. One of the things that, everyone in their career, sometimes you bottom out, sometimes you're in prison, massive prison, we call it, massive jail. For me, being able to tell people where they're really screwing up and what's really their own behaviors that are getting in their own way, so that they have the opportunity to correct them, so that they don't continue to just keep hitting the wall and not know why and just be angry and upset. And so being able to tell someone the truth and have them recognize that you're doing it from a place of trying to help them and support them and have a better life. And that is not an easy thing, and most introverted engineers are not good at looking someone in the eye and saying, you really you gotta stop doing this. And so that's a skill that's not learned, and it's valuable, and it's very dangerous.
So I don't know if this is going to directly answer the question, so maybe it's almost an observation from this panel, right? One of the things that I found that was hard, that you didn't ever taught, that I had to learn, is the switching of topics all the time, right? The multitasking. You go from one 30-minute meeting that's about this to another meeting about that, and being able to concentrate and be in the moment and understanding and switching that with everything else that's going on. So that's sort of, I think, you just kind of develop over time. But where I'm kind of going with that is it can become very stressful, and the jobs that we have can be very stressful. But I think what's important, as evidenced by this panel, is don't lose that sense of humor, right? And keep that and find the funniness in it. And I think that's what always helps, at least me, to deal with the stress of the job.
Okay, so the next question is, what do you think of the movie Hidden Figures' portrayal of women at NASA? It's a highly voted question.
Yeah, I have to think about that, right? So there are probably a couple things that are getting at it, right? So I watched it, I'll be honest with you, with a mix of embarrassment that we were in a situation that allowed those things to happen where we had such discrimination, a sense, a little bit of pride that there were people that stood up to help. And I think actually that is, if I could take away something about NASA, and you've heard that too, is having the people that stood up to help others and see that really it's about what you contribute to the project, not what you look like, or the beliefs that you have. It's about doing the work. So from that part, I think I would hold on to that because I think that's more representative of NASA today than where we were in the past.
Okay. Yeah, if someone else wants to. Okay. The next question we have is, what challenges do you face in government role as a female that might not be the same for the private sector?
Last time I worked in the private sector, I worked in Target. I was 18. I've been there for 32 years, so I'm not the right person to answer that question.
So I might give a shot, although the jobs that I had before coming to NASA weren't, on the kind of the same level, I don't know how else to say it, but I think for me, certainly, NASA, my experience has been, as Don just said too, that, speaking up and having courage is something that I think is kind of maybe special. I don't know if it's special in the private industry. I know it's there in private industry. I think to some degree, so I can get moved from one job to another, getting fired, walking in and saying something and doing something and literally being fired, having to walk out the door and pack your boxes and go isn't what I worry about. I did have that worry in prior jobs coming to NASA, and it did honestly hold me back from saying some things that I felt needed to be said and correcting some things that I felt like needed to be corrected, certainly in the trucking industry. I'll just say that. But I think for me, that's probably one thing that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, definitely that's fair, because I have to remember my youth and indiscretion of saying things when I was younger. Sort of the final comment out the door was, and I'm a woman working for the government, good luck getting rid of me, right? I'm your diversity statistics, so you're not fired. So you in the government, it is different. It's actually not gender specific. It is a difference between being in the government versus private industry. You are sheltered from more. Yes, you can be shuffled off to do a really crappy job, but you fundamentally have more job security than you have in the private sector. So particularly for the jobs that some of us have had, and Trish and I go back a long way in the corporate program, where your job fundamentally depends on your ability to speak truth to power and be able to tell somebody 2 or 3 grades above you, or as a line engineer to be able to look at the administrator of the agency and say you can't do that, and not fundamentally fear for your job. It requires that you have that kind of job security. So it's just a different role we play.
Okay. What are your thoughts on how NASA can best leverage the growing list of commercial industry space launch partners such as SpaceX, ULA, and others?
Yes. This is one of my favorite topics. So actually one of the best parts to me about making the transition to being executive in leadership as opposed to in management as opposed to technical leadership is this question is ongoing right now, obviously very heavily debated within NASA and within the aerospace industry in general right now. And so as Johnson Space Center, we have a relatively new center director and a new administrator for the agency. And as they're laying in their goals to advance how much work we're doing with our commercial partners and growing that industry, as a senior executive, it's great to get the opportunity to participate in that strategy and that vision as our agency and center leadership are starting to lay out their vision for how we have more partnerships. As a matter of fact, I spent a significant part of my time talking to our engineering staff about how to get better partnerships with commercial opportunities, even just to grow those, relationships, right? Growing relationships, right? So right now I'm here, but we have staff back at Johnson that are hosting Blue Origin for 2 days. We regularly reach out to try to talk with a lot of different folks in the industry to kind of try to say, look, here's the skills we have. We want to be able to partner, be able to kind of have a coalition, best badges on the table. There are some things we are very good at because of our facilities and because of the tools we develop and because of the skills that we have, the technologies that our research centers bring to bear. And there are some things that commercial is very good at. They do it more cost effectively, they do it faster. So being able to put those things together along with the things that our international partners bring to bear allows us to talk about how we can do something that is bigger than any one of us can do individually. So figuring out that strategy where everybody can kind of bring the best badge on the field is a huge priority right now in the agency. And to me, one of the best things about having moved to the SES in the last year is getting to participate in that discussion from kind of strategy, vision, and then as a director of engineering, being able to execute that, right? When my center director says, go out and go meet some people and go develop some partnerships, right? And so we put a lot of effort into that, and I hope over the next couple of years, we're going to see that really shift in terms of our ability and how we work together.
So, in the Space Technology Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters, one of our charters is to enable commercial spaceflight. We don't have enough money within the agency to meet our really top priority long-term goals. Right? We are not going to be able to foot the entire bill to send humans to Mars, and we need partners. And so identifying what industry is way ahead of us on, and we don't need to reinvent, and then identifying how, what are the things that they would never have a business case for that really, that's kind of, we're going to have to do that. And so we look very closely at that. This administration is very, very, finds it to be a very high priority for us to identify how we're going to partner with commercial and reach our objectives, because the budget, the entire nation's budget has challenges. And so NASA's been very fortunate in all the budget cuts, but to what extent can we make things like the commercial industry and have actually a profit basis instead of the government building it as a special in-house activity?
Okay. So the next question we have is, how well did your college education prepare you for the career in engineering as well as a job at NASA?
So if I think about that, I think more than anything, it helped me to figure out how to think critically. You know, a lot of what we are doing at NASA is very specific, and some of the basic engineering skills, yes, we learned it, but you can't learn everything in college for the specific application. But it gave me enough of a basis to understand some of the fundamentals, but a lot of it then became on-the-job training to take that and knowing how to figure out the problems and to think critically.
Second that.
Yeah, I think she said, we, all of us, even as managers, have enough of a technical basis. It's important when we walk into a meeting, right? I'm not going to argue differential equations with one of my engineers. Unless you know. I might, a little bit. But they are much better at it than I am, right? I mean, I haven't practiced my domain in many years, right? So I'm not going to challenge somebody about how they're doing their national modeling. So, but you need to be fluent and be able to have a conversation and be able to ask intelligent questions. Whenever I do this at universities, how much do I use my college education? Well, let's see, I haven't turned my calculator on in about 15 years. So, I mean, you're not, when you're at our level, we're not doing fundamental engineering physics anymore, but obviously there are a lot of people at NASA that still do, people that develop tools and people that are doing analysis, where they heavily leverage what they're learning in school. So it really kind of depends on what it is that you wind up doing, because there are so many different facets of engineering management, and leadership, strategy, and vision development. Just kind of depends where you wind up on that spectrum. But like Dawn, I would say, when I go back to my alma mater, which is Purdue, by the way, so what did you get out of that, right? I learned to be persistent, right? I learned to solve problems. I learned to approach things in a rigorous way. Those are the things that those last through time, no matter what job you're doing in engineering.
I think the only thing I would add to that is, for me, And what I've seen is that also it helps you to continue to want to learn. That's what it did for me. And so even as Julie said, we don't do the analysis ourselves. We don't crank the equations out. We don't run the models. But I will tell you, for every job that I've moved to in NASA, I've learned something new. And I've learned something new technically. And so my degree is mechanical engineering. And so, it's enabled me to be able to sit and talk to the double E's, even though I admire them so much, I'm in awe. And the software engineers, but it's helped me to really continue to learn.
Right, so you hear the expression lifetime learner, right? And you really need to be, whether you decide to stay in your technical domain, or you decide in the end that management and the sciences, the software sciences, the social sciences associated with management are what make you tick, or whether it's systems engineering is what makes you tick. I mean, for me, I sort of an unusual, weird combination that I'm really interested in policy, so I actually have advanced studies at Georgetown in policy. So, you're going to find other things that interest you as you work your way through your career, and I just encourage you to just continue to be lifetime learners, kind of whatever that is, keeps your brain elastic, right?
Okay, so as we enter in our last few minutes of this session, as the conclusion, what is one last piece of advice or words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience?
So I think, when I look back, when I was very young, starting at NASA, I always felt a little out of place, like I didn't fit in. So you kind of felt like you needed to fit in. Now with age, and I can look back in the rearview mirror, I mean, that is actually what my strength was, right? So we all bring something different to the table and to a team, and your specific background and your experiences who shape who you are is an asset to the team. And so embrace what makes you different and special, because we all need that. And it's okay not to fit in, because if we all fit in, we would never get anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's great. I agree with that too. For me personally, what I would just encourage you to do is shoot for the stars. And I don't mean that in a cliche. I mean, if you ask me, like Don says, looking back when I started at NASA, my goal was just to have a seat at the table. I couldn't really fathom that I'd be at the head of the table. And so, just reach for the stars and follow your dreams and just know that you are strong people, you're smart people, you have so much to offer. And as Dawn said, I will tell you that conversation changes. Conversation at the table changes when you have a diverse group of people sitting at the table. And so, just go for it.
So captivated.
Say something wise.
For me, I did kind of have a big transformation within the last few years, where through a series of events, kind of things fell through the floor for me. And I had to kind of really step back and self-evaluate. And what I realized after a lot of thought, and I think part of it's because, I turned 50 some time ago. And when you kind of get to my age, you're like, wow, I'm kind of on the last leg of this career thing, right? My productive portion of my life, and what is it that I want to be able to say I did at the end of this time that is on the planet. And what I realized is some of the hardest pushing, hardest working, smartest people who are the ones who make it to senior management, they don't have a family life to fall back on. They don't have, when you retire from a very powerful position, people generally can't see you anymore. You don't have power anymore. And that's kind of the way of the world. It's harsh, but it's true. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to develop the relationships with the people around us and serve each other and help each other in a way that when you do retire,
you still have something. You did something, you still have relationships, and I can't fathom any other reason to fight hard to get as far as you can in your career and deliver as much as you can and think that you're the only one that could ever do it. Because that's error, that's wrong. So my advice to you is, be excellent to each other.
So I guess I would say the thing that has worked most for me is in my youth, again, a bit of a reputation, a hothead. And so I would say, if you're going to have a lot of enthusiasm when you enter the workforce, don't lose that. Just be honest, be genuine, have integrity. As long as you have those things and people see that you are focused on that same mission with them, that you want the same end goal, they will forgive your mistakes and you will make a lot of them. Right? I do still every day. I say the thing I'm not supposed to say. I step on somebody too hard. But in the end, they know that I fundamentally have their back and that we are all committed 100%, 110% to that mission. And so I get a lot of forgiveness, thank God, from my team. And they break their back for me, and I would break my back for them. And they know that. And so as long as you have that integrity and that genuineness to you, people will give you a lot of slack, right? And you need that to be able to kind of get out there on a limb and try to do something hard. You're going to make mistakes. And so you need to have that mutual sense of commitment.
Okay, well, thank you to our suite and the panelists for a wonderful session. We're out of time, so I'm sure we could be here all day.